Hello, I'm Dista and welcome to a tutorial on the SkyrimGuild annotation plugin for Blender. This tutorial is targeted at animators and maybe some power users who know how to import animation into Blender. If you are not in one of these two categories and you just want to tweak annotations for your personal enjoyment, you can already leave a video. And as we are now between mod creators and highly motivated users, I assume that you are quite independent, so everything will be explained clearly but only once and at a reasonable pace. First, a crash course on annotations. Annotations are what links your animation to the game. It contains two parts, the timing and the string. We refer to the string as the event. When your animation plays, the event is sent when the timing is reached. The event will then be interpreted by the games and the different frameworks you have. For example, this annotation creates a hitbox after 0.43 seconds. We can associate a payload, which is an extra string, to the event. So an annotation with a payload goes timing event dot payload. This annotation creates a hitbox for the weapon in the left hand. How can you know what does what? Well, welcome to the wonderful world of modding. Modders making frameworks will usually give you some documentation to tell you what to do. Some annotations are used by the vanilla game and we don't always know what they do. If you're lucky, another modder might know, and if it's not the case, it will be up to you to find out. Now off to Blender. What you are seeing is the second power attack from the Valkyrie Sword and Shield Redux moveset, but without annotation it won't be able to do anything in-game. The first step is to install the plugin. We go to Edit, Preferences, Add-on, Install, find the plugin, install it. On the right we now have a new panel called Skyrim. We are going to import a new annotation preset. I am selecting the simple anno.json, which is my configuration file and looks like that. You can see now that I have some new bones corresponding to the names in the JSON file. These new bones will be our annotations. If I select them and add a keyframe, they now appear in the dope sheet. If I click to export, it will generate an annotation text file with the same name as the current animation. For this set, each keyframe corresponds to an annotation. The time of the annotation is 0 seconds for all of them, because we set all the keyframe to frame 0, so the game will receive all these events as soon as the animation starts playing, and the string corresponds to the bone name. We are now going to see a specific type of annotations, the ones using the AMR framework. This annotation describes to AMR the motion data, which distance, how long and in which direction the character will move while the animation plays. To add motion data, you need to go into the object mode, select your character, and you can then start moving and rotating the whole body. Some new annotations called anim motion and anim rotation have now been exported, and your character will now be able to move and rotate in the game the same way as in Blender. On the Skyrim panel we can see this number called motion factor. If you notice that in game the movement isn't the same as in Blender, you will have to play with this number. For example, this rig uses 13.3, my wolf rig uses something like 5, and my dragon rig uses I think 113. From my testing, using multiples of 1.33 works well, but you will have to see in game. So, if you're an animator, what you've seen so far is already quite an improvement, but we are now going to see the full power of the plugin, and I swear it's going to be about as fun as the beginning of the video, which is not fun at all. If I try to import the tutorial.json, it throws me an error, because I'm stupid and I forgot that I hard-coded the name of the armature. So just rename your armature to armature. If I import again, it is telling me that some bones already exist and it is recommended to delete them. This plugin allows these bones to have some custom data, so if someone updates the preset, I'd rather have you re-import everything completely rather than have maybe some outdated bones inside. To remove everything is very simple. Go to edit mode, select the concerned bone, well in that case I'm gonna remove all of them, and delete the keyframes for the duplicated bones. I will now import again and it is throwing me another error. The fix is very simple and I will fix it later, but for the moment just go into pause mode before you import. And now that it's finally working, the tutorial can start. I am now adding a keyframe for this bone with a long ass name. It will multiply the speed of my attack by 1.2 after 0.95 seconds. The big issue with this method is it's not very flexible, so I created another bone in the JSON with a different setup. You see now that it doesn't have a number at the end, but instead it has a new value called attack speed, set to -0.1. If I go into the bone tab and go to the custom properties, I can see that I can now control this value. I will set it to 1.2 and set the timing to the same one as the first annotation, and we can now see that we have the exact same thing. And because I can keyframe it, it means I can change this value throughout the animation. I'll remove the keyframe for the old annotation, I will move further and set it to 1.79 and keyframe the property. If I keyframe now, we can see that it doesn't work. It's because the script is searching for location keyframes and not custom property keyframes, so it's very easy. You just go to the keyframe you want and you add a keyframe for the location. And if I export now, I have a new annotation with a new value. It will work for all the values except -1. And I'm aware it might cause issues down the road, but well, we can't have everything. It's better, but I still don't like this annotation. Its name is very cryptic, and even though you should read the documentation, we're here to make your life simple. To make it more explicit, we're going to use an alias instead. I created another bone, named it attack speed mult, and gave it a custom annotation. That way you can have bone with very explicit names, even if the annotation is very cryptic. I can customize that annotation within Blender without having to re-import the preset. The setup works for floats, but obviously it should also work with integers. Instead of setting the value in the JSON to -1.0, just set it to -1. Some frameworks will require you to input a value by first indicating the name of a variable and then in parentheses its value. In the previous examples, the name of variable wasn't written. It was only there for you to know what it was. To do that, you just need to input parentheses after the name of your variable in the JSON. Obviously, this setup supports integers but also arrays. The condition is the same as for the floats and integers. As long as not all of the values are equal to -1, it will be written in the annotation. What if I want information for the ID and the rotation? Well, you just need to set up a separator in the JSON. And if you are to do that, don't be stupid like me and just copy-paste everything. Because the separator has been set, don't include it in the annotation or you will have two separators, which might cause some issues. It's good, we can set up integers, float arrays, and now we want to set up strings. A framework like Precision uses some variables that are just strings. If the string is in the annotation, it does something, and if it's not there, it doesn't do anything. You just need to write the name of variable and add string in parentheses after. It obeys the same rules as the other variables, so it will be written only if its value is different from -1. But here comes the last quality of life tool, the aliases set. If I wanted to add collisions for the left leg, I will create my annotation and I will need to duplicate it for all the 4 bones in my leg. But with this plugin instead, we can use aliases. It can replace the whole annotation, but if you add some parentheses, it will add the aliases between them. In that case, we are using the second method to add the bones of the legs. And when you mix all of these functionalities together, a very complex annotation scheme like the Precision one doesn't become simple anyway, but it's way easier to work with it. So that's it for the plugin. I will upload on the website a preset for the humanoid attack animations, so it will include the annotations for vanilla, AMC or ADXP, Precision and TDM. I still have a lot of work to do, unfortunately. I need to refactor the code a lot, and I'm aware that the naming can be a bit confusing, but that will be for another time. I'm sick of working on it at the moment. If you've reached this point of the video, you're probably a mod maker, so thank you for your contribution. Thanks to my patron for allowing me to take the time to work on tools that we did need, but that are also free, and thus they won't benefit of it directly. And guys, let's not forget, what's boring in Skyrim? Skyrim. Let's make it another game with better tools.